Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Doctor Who review, episode number 88. We're reviewing the opening story for season 15 of the show. Yes, season 15. Four-parter known as The Horror of Fang Rock. Yep, that's the name of the story. Now, this story was aired in in 1977, obviously. Aired from December 3rd to December 24th of 1977. This one particularly is noteworthy for the debut of a kind of the best way to describe it. It's a creature that only appeared once, but it was mentioned a lot throughout the series. I'll get to who the creature is in a minute, but this story is also famous not on the debut of this new creature, but also for the fact that during the airing of Part 3, get this, the show got hijacked on the air. They were replaced by this thing, Max Headroom. Oh boy. Apparently it was aired in Chicago in the 80s, not where it was aired in the 80s. For about 90 seconds we have this Max Headroom guy, which, by the way, here's the weird thing about this case, about this particular thing. It was basically a person wearing a Max Headroom mask carried out a broadcasting hijacking of two television stations in Chicago in the 80s. This was a story that aired during it. The first one happened during this one. Happened for 25 seconds at 9 p.m. on WGN TV news broadcast. Apparently 2 hours later, a second hijack during this show. The second ended with hijack apparently exposed, but being spiked with flight swatter. No part resume. And here's the thing about this Max Headroom hijacking. Now, they've never identified who the heck this guy was. It's like randomly in the 80s when they decided to just air this thing in Chicago, in the Chicago area. They basically, this guy decided to show up, do ha ha ha, say these things, and of course he getting spanked and everything. Like, what the heck is this? I've seen what these things are, and I'm like, what? Yeah, it is like not even a minute. It is by far one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Yes. So, if I had to bring that up, people are like, why bring the Max Headroom stuff? Well, there you go. Bring it in the beginning. Story starts off in, well, they don't specify exactly what year it is, but if I read the Wikipedia page, it takes place in 1902. My guess is during like the later part of the year. So we have these three lighthouse keepers. We have Ben, who is the engineer. We have Reuben, who is the veteran lighthouse keeper, and Vincent, the youngest of the three, who witnesses a strange red light coming down from the sky and crash in the water. Of course, they see these two eat dinner later on, show various things. By the way, the place is called Fang Rock. Why it's called Fang Rock? Never explained. So then the Doctor and Leela show up, and I kind of forgot Leela did not wear her Sabbath attire in this, which, good reason why, because they described this. They described the environment of this place as being really cold. So it would not really work, but definitely the very next door she's back to wearing this outfit. She's basically wearing period appropriate clothing. So they're on the way to Bristol, but they're in a completely different location. By the way, the Doctor for some reason does not wear his normal hat in this story. He wears a bowler hat. Yes, a purple bowler hat for part of the story. I'm like, was there something wrong with wearing his normal hat? Yeah, this is, I think, like the only time I could think of when he was wearing his original outfit, he did not wear the brown hat he wears. So, then meanwhile, though, this mysterious green creature shows up, and Ben goes down to the cellar where the generator is, checks out, and then he's basically killed by this creature. Okay, I should stop basically delaying about what the heck this creature is. This is a Rutan. Yep, a frickin' Rutan. Which I'll get to the whole thing with that. The Rutans are known for the enemy of the Centaurans, like Doctor. And as for why this story is the only time they ever appeared on screen, and they appeared in a spin-off story that was independently run, which I don't know if it's canon or not. And of course, the Rutan stuff was probably many different source materials, something like comics and novels. Heck, the place Fang Rock will basically be revisited several times in many books since the story. But nothing about the characters per se. I like the last couple stories where the characters do popular stories. This one, not really. No, not really. The location returns, but not necessarily the characters. I'll get to the reason for that. Of course, Doctor shows up, explains some stuff, and then by the end of part 1, a yacht shows up. Yes, a frickin' yacht shows up and crashes on the rocks, and there's only 4 survivors. A rich lord who's basically a snob, his beautiful secretary, a retired colonel from the British Army, and a seaman by the name Hawkins. Now, they do explain of what the heck they were doing there. They're on the way to Southampton, so that their boss can take a train down to London to be there for the market opening. For the stock market. Yep, because he basically won big at the casino. He wanted to hit the market as soon as possible. And the only reason they crashed, and it's a little bit later, the reason for this is because he insists on hitting pedal to the metal for the frickin' yacht because he had to get to Southampton as soon as possible. That's like, we should have stayed in Dover. Nope, we had to go. Yep. And then, of course, throughout the story, and of course, there's a lot of good explanation. And then, well, after Ben dies, like, then his body disappears, and then it's found by Hawkins, the seaman. Lee, of course, basically is always battle ready to help out. Of course, she does change her outfit during the course of the story to the outfit she was wearing when she came off the TARDIS to basically an outfit you would see a lighthouse keeper at the time basically probably wear with like a big turtleneck sweater. I don't know if the actress was comfortable wearing a turtleneck sweater, but hey, well, they had there. And carrying a big belt with her too. Yeah. So basically, throughout the story, they protect themselves, and of course, basically, the idiot Pemberton wants to contact London so he can give these numbers. He tries to get the seaman, and he's like too tired, and also wakes the colonel, and of course, he ends up sabotaging their telegraph. Yeah, he basically sabotages it. As for why, because they want people to help him out for some reason. I'm not sure what the colonel does this for. They do explain why the colonel was involved with this. He's a retired colonel. Apparently, he got involved in politics, so he was blackmailed to work with the idiot lord, Pemberton, because he got information on him, so he sold basically vital info and to get him out of like whatever hole he was in. Like, okay. And of course, like, as soon as he rests up, I gotta go. And of course, like, Doctor's like, nope, can't go on that fog. You would know. He's a scientist. Oh yeah, and also during the story, like, and then of course Pemberton really wanted to get this information out, so he basically bribes Vincent with like 50 pounds of currency. And then he's killed by the Rutan. not long after this. So, then in story, you think, oh, and by the way, the actor did clarify the reason why the character did this, because it was never explained on screen why he did this. He all of a sudden burns the money. And the reason I read the reason why he did this, to cover the fact he accepted a bribe. That was pretty much the reason for it. Yeah, on screen, he just looks around, he just takes out basically the money and burns it. And this, of course, this is after he died. And then, of course, basically, the doctor brings in basically Pemberton's dead body. And the secretary screams, so Leah slaps her. And from what I've read, basically, that was a legit slap. She was told to slap. She told to slap as hard as she can, and looked very brisk. Now she did just to calm her down because she said she was being hysteria, and she didn't do it again in the story. I would have thought though that it was a little harder than that, but no. Basically, yeah. So he died, and he's like the second death in the whole story. Yep, second one. And then, of course, Ruben disappears. He disappears, and then he pops up. Leela finds him in his room, just standing there. Of course, she got a mallet and proceeds to break down his door like she's basically like Jack Nicholson's character from The Shining, which probably came with this period, and just smashes the door. And of course, Doc goes, oh, he's just standing there. His body, he's literally discovered dead later on. And this actually is the Rutan posing as him. Why he picked Ruben is not really understandable why he picked Ruben. Just pick his randomness. And of course, they do their best. And eventually, Hawkins is killed. And then the Rutan comes and kills the secretary. Very beautiful woman. And she describes Leela as ugly. Dream is savage, but I don't think Leela was ugly. I think she's a very lovely woman at the time. Yeah, then she's killed, and by the way, her body is left in the room, and it somehow stays in the same position even after they go back to go, like, get basically a set of diamonds later on in the story. Of course, the colonel's like all left because Vince himself was killed by the Ruben Rutan, and so the Beta used mortars. Of course, then the doctor confronts like, oh, you're a Rutan. And he's like, how the heck do you know our species? Basically, well, he's a traveler. He doesn't know about this stuff. He does not tell me he's a freaking Time Lord. Leah does remind the doctor he's a Time Lord, but aside from that, they don't really clarify. And also, for some reason, when they show the Tarzan's episode, it looks like a toy in this story. I thought that was kind of weird. You don't see it twice the whole story. You see it briefly at the beginning, and then it's seen at the end of the episode. And to me, it looks like a toy in a wide shot of wherever this lighthouse is. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. No interior shot this time. Nope. Yeah, second story in a row, no TARDIS interior. The reason because of the interior they used was basically damaged between seasons, so they couldn't use it anymore. So I think with the very next story, they actually do use a new interior. I think they go back to the previous interior they were using before. So, basically, like, the Beta, in order to use a mortar, and, well, Doctor basically by his time, and of course, eventually there's a battlefield coming, and of course, basically, the Doctor does explain to them about the Rutans. They're not initially believing at first, but the Colonel kind of accepts it a little bit. The Secretary doesn't believe it at all because it might be like mumble joke because they don't be only aliens at this point. So, and then of course basically the Rutans take him with 2 Morton shots. Well, actually, he's blown up, and of course they get diamonds. And of course, the Doctor just grabs 1 diamond, tosses the rest. Of course, you have the Colonel just because he mentions that Pemberton carried diamonds from him as insurance. So he rummages through his clothes, ends up pulling out part of his pants in order to get the diamonds. Doctor is going to toss the rest of them on the floor, so then the Colonel just picks up and gets killed by the Rutan. Like, Doctor, why the heck would you do that for? Did you know that the Colonel was going to pick up those diamonds? So, they basically, they killed the Rutan, and they destroyed his scout ship by basically magnifying the lighthouse light into a freaking laser beam. Blow up the thing, and Leela was running away from it. Of course, we do briefly see, one last time, Pemberton and his secretary just still lie on the floor after they've already been murdered by the Rutan. And they apparently don't see Hawkins on the floor. Yes. Either that he was moving a shot, I'm not sure what happened. Of course, they race outside, and of course, Lee looks at it, and then her eyes change color to blue. I thought it was green, but no, it was blue. Now, I explained this basically in her debut episode, the reason why in this story they changed the color. Because the contact she was given was hurting her eyes. That's why it was changed. And remained blue for the rest of their tenure. And probably because also it was probably requested for her. Because she herself requested basically they be removed because they were bothering her. But all in all, great story. Now, the play is supposed to be revisited a few times in the future. But the Doctor himself, from what I've read online, he does not return to this place. Nope. He does go to Bristol in another story. But as to going back to Fang Rock, nope. And here's kind of the weird thing. They blame Ruben for all the deaths of all the story, which is interesting. And also, it's like, oh, the Doctor has a whole bunch of people dead, and so he's leaving a lighthouse with like 8 people dead. Actually, it's like 7 people died in the story, and it's a lighthouse full of corpses. Now, does anybody go back to the story? Go back to immediately? No, it's not mentioned again. As a matter of fact, they'll eventually talk about what happened to this lighthouse and all the story. They revisit it in other stories, but I'm curious. Like, did anybody come out here and come out of that place and figure out what the heck happened? Like, why did they lost contact? Who knows? Now, it is a good story, and of course, next story debuts. Also, this story here is noteworthy for something interesting. Aside from the Max Heritage hijacking and Leah's eye change color and debut of the Rutan, it is noteworthy for one other thing. The last story until Caves ever resolved to have only one companion. Yep, last one for quite a while. Almost like 6 years. Yeah, there would not be another like story with only just one companion. Because next story debut a brand new companion. A very popular companion that still occasionally appears this very day. The last appearance of Sarah Jane Ventures. I'll get back to that later. But great story. I love horror Fang Rock. It's a great horror story. And definitely consider revisit for Halloween because it's really fun. Okay, so that's pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, do the like button. Okay, with this one in particular, before I close the video, I have exactly 18 more Time Baker stories left to go. Yep, 18 more to go. Have more for Leela. Four left. Yep, 4 more stories for her. And that's it. Yep. And lucky enough, all the rest of her stories are all 4-parters. Oh, in case you might be asking, is there any other 6-parters left to go for Tom Baker? There is exactly 1. Seeds of Death. Yeah, that's the only one left to go. So, next up is the Comic Corner. And then it's on to Demon Lord Retry. Yep, thanks, Phil. Bye.